This is major, major breaking news. We now have video evidence that militants are crossing into our country. We have grown military age men on video in camouflage. They're in army fatigues. They're in camo crossing into our country in the middle of the desert. All right. New video has confirmed this. Our country is now being invaded by military and paramilitary forces right now, crossing into the border, groups of men in military army fatigues and camo. All right, this is happening right now, and this is a major national security risk for our country. All right, and this is being facilitated, this is being paid for by all these different groups. They are lining up, and we're going to name some of them today that are facilitating this and paying for this action. All right. And in response to this, people are frightened. People are worried. People that have seen this video that I'm going to show you in a minute, they are worried. They are saying that this is a quote from somebody that was commenting on this. They're saying, "This is my backyard and this is frightening." They said they are getting a $2,600 security door put in and a security system along with what we have for self-protection. This is not a game and people are going to get hurt. All right. That is what somebody commented on this video. People are worried. People feel threatened, and ranchers, hunters, all these different people are now seeing military aged men, 20, 30-year-old men, now in camouflage in groups, moving through the desert and moving into our country. This is happening right now, and we now have video proof of it. All right, if this isn't an invasion, then I don't know what is. This is the definition of having an invasion inside of our country, and we need to say no. Things need to be shut down, and this is a national security threat, and we need to be able to protect our own citizens. And this invasion is being facilitated by multiple different nonprofits and NGOs, non-government organization, law firms. All these different groups are being funded through globalist institutions like the United Nations. They are getting funding from this, and even through our own government, they are funding the moving and facilitating of people. All right, so we have multiple sources confirming this, and even Elon Musk came out and said that this is what he's being told. He said, quote, "I was told that not only is the Red Cross facilitating illegal immigration, they are being paid to do so by the federal government, specifically the Department of Homeland Security, out of the FEMA budget." Then he said, what the heck is going on? Exactly, what the heck's going on? We are paying for this to happen in our country. All right. Other sources went on to confirm, to say the Red Cross is working right alongside Alitus, putting illegal immigrants on buses and shipping them to locations in Tucson, where they are then shipped to Phoenix Sky Harbor. Also, the Red Cross are the first in at child camps. They leave once a NGO is contracted, right? That is what James O'Keefe is also reporting on and confirming. All right, so they were also confirming that different charities and different even churches are facilitating this and getting grants and getting funding to pay for this movement of people. All right, so this is organized, and this is being funded from the highest level, and now we have video coming in of military-aged men dressed in army fatigues, camo, that are coming in groups across our border into our country. This is very dangerous, and this is a national security threat for our country. All right, we also have a lot of other big news we're going to get to of they are now adding cameras and metal detectors all over NYC to deal with the crime there. They're saying from migrant crime, quote, migrant crime. That's what they're calling it there. And they're now installing new camera and security systems all over New York City, and now having metal detectors because they're saying people are just walking around with knives, giant knives all over the place. All right, we're going to get to that in a second. There are also strings of burglaries that are happening all over major cities across the US, and the police are even saying that it's tied to these networks that are coming over across the border and forming these theft groups. All right, so all this stuff is related. This is a major hole in our defenses. All right, we have all these warnings from all across the globe, top generals, top NATO commanders coming out saying that war is coming, get prepared, all this stuff's coming, and at the same time our border is wide open, and now we have video proof of these military aged men coming in camo over our border. So this is a video from a hunter who was in the hills, hunting in the hills near Gila Bend, Arizona. He sent in this video of a group of illegal immigrants all dressed in camouflage moving through the brush. All right. And they're saying that they were able to get into Arizona undetected. All right. And he said he reported it to Border Patrol, but he doesn't know if they were caught or not. And he also went on to say that these are what, quote, gotaways look like this. All right. Because there are 250,000 people almost being reported that they apprehended in December, but the number's much higher. There are a ton of people like this that do not want to be on the record, who are moving across our border freely. And this is out in the middle of nowhere in the desert in Arizona. 4 military-aged men all dressed in army fatigues, dressed in camo, slithering around, moving around through the brush. They're not on a trail. They're not hiking. And they don't even have like big hiking backpacks on or anything like that. This looks like a unit moving in, all right? Possibly doing reconnaissance in the area, checking out the area. And they have these bases all over, set up in these remote locations, just out in the middle of the brush. I've seen them, of these camps and these bases that they set up, and they literally will use the tumbleweeds, all right? They'll use the brush and the tumbleweeds out there to build these little facilities and these little camps that they use as outpost networks to give people supplies and to help people moving on these routes that aren't being monitored. Right? There's a ton of people showing up saying, hey, sign me up. But then there's another group of people that are trying to get in, possibly foreign governments and foreign militaries that are trying to get in to our country as well, so they can be activated in the event of something big going down, all right? In the event of it hitting the fan, these units, and this is just 4 that have been seen at one location at one time by one hunter. This is happening all day. There's groups of people like this crossing in ammo army fatigues, camouflage or camo army fatigues. There's people crossing in this all day long, groups crossing all day long of military-age men. And why are they in camouflage? They don't want to be seen out here in the desert. That's why. All right, so this is a very serious national security threat for our country. And there's a reason why this is being allowed to happen. And you heard it there. You even heard it. This is coming from Elon Musk saying that he's seen the contracts that the federal government and the Department of Homeland Security is taking this out of the FEMA budget to pay for all this nonsense and to pay for this to ship these people into our country even further. All right. This is unsustainable, and this is going to lead to societal chaos and collapse in the future, because we can't pay for all this. We can't pay for all this, and our country cannot absorb, and our economy cannot absorb this, and it's going to lead to a collapse scenario. And certain places have already reached this breaking point. All right, in NYC right now, they are now installing even more cameras. They are getting more security. Certain quote migrant shelters now have the National Guard standing guard for security, because things are getting so out of hand there. They are now installing metal detectors to get access to go into these quote migrant shelters, because there are now gangs forming inside the shelters, and people are drawing lines on wherever they're from. They're kind of segregating themselves inside of these shelters and forming little gangs. And they're saying that crime is becoming a major issue as well. They're saying that people are walking around with knives, with giant knives all over NYC, and they now have to have metal detectors here. Right? This is turning into chaos very quickly inside of our country, and it's unsustainable. It's unsustainable. We can already not pay for our homeless veterans, for our homeless children, for people starving. But this is already an issue in our country, and we can't have even more people coming in that are going to add to this problem. We just can't handle it. We just can't handle it. You can see here that NYC migrant shelters adding cameras as violence spikes, and says, quote, just wait until they get a hold of you know what. All right, I don't want to say it on here, but they're saying that the next step is that there are going to be more weapons to this. All right, that's what's coming out of the NY Post right now. Here's a quote from officials there in the city. It says, quote, we cannot continue down this road of taking in hundreds and hundreds of people without establishing such security measures. We need to do this for the sake of the staff, migrants, and New Yorkers in general. They said, quote, we can't continue to have thousands of people congregate under such constrained conditions without any metal detectors or cameras. Now we're dealing with an influx of knives. Just wait until they get a hold of other things, other weapons, all right? Very serious what's going on. And this is... Now, pair this with the military men and camouflage going in. Pair this with this. Combine these two ideas in your mind and just think about what could really happen in these mega cities when it's going down, when the orders activate, when the message is sent. Think about what could really happen, all right? And things are already happening. You can also see here a group of newly arrived, quote, migrants allegedly behind string of burglaries plaguing Chicago suburb. That's what the police are saying in Chicago. And they're saying that people are just having their homes broken into and they're stealing thousands of dollars in items all the time. Every single night, people's homes are being hit. And this is insane. This is crazy. Imagine living in fear of this, that there's these groups, there's these gangs being allowed into our country freely, and now they're forming organized criminal gangs to have theft and steal from homes. This is insane. This needs to stop, and it's being allowed to happen in these certain jurisdictions. It's being allowed to happen. Even if the police make arrests, they are just right back out. Right? The judicial system, it's like there's two forms of justice that are being formed right now, and it seems like there's a whole class of people that do not have to follow the laws that U.S. citizens have to follow. Right? It seems like we are now following two sets of laws in our country, and it's not sustainable, and it's not fair, and it's a danger. They're just ruining these mega cities, Chicago, New York, San Francisco, LA, all these cities that are supposed to be major economic zones for our country are being wrecked. They're being wrecked, and they're being brought down on purpose. This is a globalist attack on our country to bring down America, so we are then absorbed into this global governance body. All right, that's the overall plan here, is that things are so chaotic that there's an internal collapse in America, economic, national debt. All these things are our sovereignty. All these things are at risk right now. And if they create this internal problem, we will have to reach out to these global institutions for help. All right, that's what their end goal is, and then they can absorb us into these global governing bodies like the UN, like the World Government Summit, like the WEF that are meeting right now. All right, all these things are on their agenda and part of their plan, and they're doing it on purpose. All right, there's also been, you can see here, we talked about this Denver hospital that was collapsing. All right, it has $120-something million deficit just from the migrants, the quote migrants in Denver Health. Now they're asking for a federal bailout. All right, you can't make this stuff up. This is a planned military strategy to bring down countries. All right, it's called siege warfare, and it's also called the Cloward and Piven strategy. Right, but you can see here, Denver Hospital wants federal bailout as illegal immigrants flood system. It says about 8,000 illegal immigrants recorded about 20,000 visits to Denver Health last year, receiving services such as emergency room treatment, primary care, dental care, and childbirth. This is insane. Dental care, this is insane. I just can't even believe this. Like, what country are we living in? I just can't even believe this. And the deficit's like $120 million per year. Right, 20,000 visits, and it's only 8,000 people. So they're coming multiple times. They're coming like 2 or 3 times. They're really getting their money's worth. They really know how to. Who goes to the emergency room like 3 times a year? Right, they're being trained to milk these systems, and now they want a federal government bailout that we just have to absorb even larger as a country. Right. These sanctuary cities, they need to be shut down. They need to come out. These mayors need to say, they're just going to have to bankrupt, right? That's going to be their other solution. But we know that the string pullers, they want that. That's what they really want anyways. They want these local governments to bankrupt themselves. They want these states and our country itself overwhelmed. So the National Guard, the military, has to come in and take over. So we pretty much have a martial law scenario. And this is already happening. States like West Virginia, right? They have the National Guard at all of their prisons right now, right? All their major prisons have the National Guard staffing, doing major staffing covers, because there's a major staffing shortage for the prisons in West Virginia, right? So the National Guard had to be sent in, and they're taking over the prisons in West Virginia. This has been going on for about a year now, maybe 2 years now. But this is what they want to happen nationwide, where things are just so chaotic. It's already happening in New York, Massachusetts, Boston, where the National Guard is standing guard at these migrant shelters because they're so dangerous. And another thing that's happening that I really don't even want to talk about, but it's just, this is a real issue. This is a real problem, that apparently there's a major sanitation issue as well going on in NYC right now. And apparently there is a toilet problem, right? I don't know how else to explain this, but there is just open stuff going on, and people are leaving and doing their business all over the place. This is happening in U.S. cities all over, where they're just allowed to do this in the middle of the cities. Do just right on the sidewalk, just whatever you have to do. Number 1, number 2, it's going right there. And people are saying that it's piling up. It's piling up in these certain areas. That's what's also being reported as well. There's piles of number 1 and cups, people leaving it everywhere, and number 2 piling up as well, just right out in the open. Okay, this is insane. This is the collapsing of our society. This is the fall of the West. This is the fall of the Roman Empire, right? This is what this is, but in the 2023 version right now. All right, our military spread extremely thin all across the globe. We are repeating very similar mistakes that these global empires in the past have followed and led to their collapse. All right. And speaking of that, really quick too, this is just because this is all related, because when there's military conflict overseas, it creates instability. It creates, refugees, migrants, these people. There are some people that really are in the middle of a war zone now, and they have nowhere to go. Their house was just blown up, right? So these things are happening too, and it just creates more people that are going to show up at the U.S. They're going to be here now. They're going to be at our doorstep. And this is also happening worldwide too. All right. So you can see here, Iranian-backed militants attack al-Assad air base in Iraq. This also just happened today. It says multiple ballistic missiles and rockets were launched by Iranian-backed militants in western Iraq targeting al-Assad air base. It says most of the missiles were intercepted by the base's air defense systems while others impacted the base. It says damage assessments are ongoing and a number of U.S. personnel are undergoing evaluation for traumatic brain injuries. And it says at least one Iraqi serviceman member was wounded. Right? So that's what's also going on internationally. There's a lot of conflicts that are bubbling up, and there's no reason that our border should be wide open. There's no reason that it should be open. It's a national security risk, and they need to shut it down. They need to shut it down. Even senators, even Democrat senators like Fetterman, right? He is now coming out and he is saying that we need to shut it down. All right, we need to shut down the border. This is a crisis. This is inhumane, and it's collapsing our country. All right, so everyone should be on this side everyone should be on the side to shut it down. All right, this is unsustainable. This is not going to work. And think about these people, these ranchers, these hunters, these people that live along the border. I can't even imagine living down there in one of these border states. It would be terrifying. It'd be scary. People are just having their crops destroyed. All right, farmers are having their crops just picked over, destroyed. People are going to the bathroom in the middle of their crops and they have to just tear them out. All right, giant corn crops, cornfields ruined. All right, 100 people show up and they just use it as a bathroom as a camp for a night or two, and it's ruined. Your cornfield's ruined. This is happening all over the place. Animals are being targeted as well. All right, they're just grabbing up animals and eating them. All right, grabbing up farmers' livestock and just eating them up. All these ranchers along the border are being targeted as well. Their businesses are being targeted, and it's dangerous for them too. All right, you heard that person's comment at the beginning. They said they're getting a $2,600 security door. All right, I can't even imagine what that looks like. It's probably 10 inches thick. Their security door here, right? That's how they feel in their own country, in the United States, like we're a third world collapsing country. That's how we have to be prepared now and ready for it now. It's insane. It's insane. I even saw this thing. It was this guy that was coming over here. They were interviewing him, and he was saying that he almost regrets he should have chose to go to Europe. Because he almost regrets coming to the U.S. because the U.S. it's not even that nice. He was saying where he's coming from, there's nicer places, all right? This is what's happening to our country right now. And we shouldn't have to feel like this. We shouldn't have to feel this unsafe. They are able to shut down ports. They're able to shut down the trains, all right, at any moment, shut down the supply chain. This is a major crisis, and the message needs to be sent from the highest level that things are shut down and it's not going to happen anymore. That's what's actually going to change it, is if there's a change of rhetoric from the highest levels. All right, so please hit it up for me down there to help get this video out. People need to know. People need to see this. There are groups of militants moving into our country now wearing camouflage. Moving into our country in Arizona, groups of militants out in the middle of nowhere, moving through the scrag, trying to get in, not on any trails, trying to sneak in. And there was only 4. There's more. They have a camp where there's potentially hundreds of people there already. And there's potentially hundreds more, thousands more coming. This was just one incident. This is happening all the time. All right, so thank you guys so much. Make sure you are staying safe, staying prepared. Hit it up for me down there too if you have any inside intel, if you live down there. Let me know what you are seeing, because people are worried. People are worried down there, and they shouldn't have to be. Right? It's understandable that they are, but they shouldn't have to be in our own country, inside the United States. This should not be happening. All right, so thank you guys so much, and I hope you have a big old blessed day.